Okay, welcome to another edition of the Edlow podcast. Subscribe. I think this is going to be fun. I have been looking. It's funny. I don't know anything about flat Earth theory or anything like that. I've only known what I've learned in school, which is that the Earth is round. And now more and more I'm hearing maybe it's not. And I've got like the guy, Flat Earth Dave. You've been all over podcasting in different places. You're very well known. So welcome to the Edlow podcast.
Hey, thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me. These are my most fun conversations. People that don't know anything. And I have to tell you, you're ahead of the pack because you said, I don't know. Many people think they know everything, right? And the fact that you admit you don't know makes you literally ahead of the pack. So,
that's cool. I like that. And part of the reason why I have this podcast is because I want to learn how people, what makes people tick. And so this is part of that. So tell me, first of all, Dave, tell me about how you kind of became the Flat Earth Dave, like Flat Earth Dave. How is it that you've become this phenomenon?
I've always been interested in truth, and there's a lot of fakeness in the world. Almost everything in the world that we're hearing mainstream is not real, and it's all a big stage. And the more I started looking into that, the crazier the world was. And I had a podcast out of New York City called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. It's quite a viral podcast. We went into all the big deceptions and everything. And I'd look into anything, this airplane crash, that wasn't what they said it was, and 9/11 and, and all this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And great, I'm open-minded, don't believe everything, look into everything. But when people started telling me, hey, Dave, have you looked into Flat Earth? I thought it was a joke. I banned them if they kept commenting, I'm like, you're banned. You can no longer comment. You're too stupid to listen to our podcast. And then I was forced by another researcher who I respect very much, Sophia Smallstorm. And she's like, Dave, you got to look into this. And I looked into it, not like you with an open mind wanting to learn. I looked into it to debunk it, put an end to it, shut these flat Earth idiots up and move on, because the Earth is obviously a globe. That's what we were told, sold, programmed with in school all of our lives. And for 2 weeks I didn't sleep, man. I just looked and looked and looked, and this was in 2014, 15, and I could not. Farther I looked, the more evidence. Like people say, what do you mean the Earth? Boats going over the horizon, Eratosthenes with his sticks and shadows, sunset, seasons. All of these things, when you look into them, actually work better on a flat Earth. Some of them don't work at all on a ball Earth. And we only have just under an hour on this show. We're going to get into some stuff. And before any of you guys tune out, thinking Josh has lost his mind, he's having a flat earther on, I offer 3 Bitcoins for 1 globe proof, right? 3 Bitcoins for 1 globe proof. But you have to look, you have to think, and you can't just throw out a question without looking into it to see if that's been answered 9,000 times already. Okay, so. I forgot where I was going with that, but go ahead, back to you.
No, that's great. Well, you kind of already hit some of the things because, like the things that you hear, like horizon, right? Or lunar eclipses. That's been one thing I have just kind of generally heard, and also just that, you look at a telescope and you see other planets and they're all round. So why wouldn't Earth be round?
Okay, so you've seen other planets. What photos of planets have you seen other than from Disney and NASA? And one of them is a cartoon studio. The other one makes cartoons.
Okay. So, but the thing is, though, is that so here's another thing I thought of right off the gate when I knew you were coming on. I go, well, wait a minute. You hear about the International Space Station, right? And astronauts that go there. Yeah. And then they come back, and nobody's like, hey, we got this whole globe thing wrong. Do you just don't believe that they're even going up there, or what?
Well, there's nobody up in space. That's a whole nother show in itself. I'll show you that NASA's lying. I'll show you that they're faking things on the space station. If I show you one where they're faking it, let's go jump in that. It's always fun. I haven't hit that in a while. If I show you one where they're faking something on the space station, you have to say, can I believe anything NASA says? Can I believe anything? So if they're on a space station floating around, they should be able to show themselves on the space station floating around, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense, right?
Sure.
Here's a simple little meme. This is hold on a second. This is them in, I got something else playing in the background. I want to turn that off. All right. So this is them in 1999 on the space station. They all got their Santa hats on. It's so cute, right? They're so fun on the space station, wasting our money. $80 million a day they get, right? But here's them in 2023 with the gravity turned off, right? Gravity on. Look at their hats. Gravity off. All right, that's weird. Maybe they just put their things down. Said everyone pull your thing down or hold it up, right? That's not anything crazy. But if we look at there's so many things. Here's they're always, notice whenever they're doing an interview, they're always playing with something, flipping something around, flipping the microphone around, showing you, entertaining you that you're in space. So this guy's playing with this wire, right? While he's talking, like, why is he just playing with this wire? Because he's hypnotizing you. He's hypnotizing you. But if we zoom in on this wire and watch what happens, you can see that it's called augmented reality. Watch, the wire goes right through his wrist. Watch carefully. Under his hand, through his wrist. This isn't real. Okay? This isn't real. And if you look carefully, it's going right through. There's no excuse for this. It's in his hand. It's going through his hand. So this is just.
Well, let me ask you a quick question.
Go ahead.
Could it be that it's just because of the color scheme, it just kind of looks like it disappears and it's not really disappearing?
You could say that. But if we start looking at, we'll just show you some more, and then we'll just wonder how many times this happens. This is them singing. Chris Hadfield, the upside down guy, he loves singing on the space station. And the other guy is actually in another room, and he's holding the microphone, and it's inside of his neck. He misplaced where he is. They're not even in the same room. They're using green screens. The microphone is inside his neck. Now, you could say color scheme, compression, all sorts of stuff. But when you look at more and more things, like this ball is real. It's filled with helium, so it's kind of neutrally buoyant. But where did that come from? Watch, I'll show you again. It's not there. They even put a little Star Trek beaming symbol. And now she's playing with it. It's called augmented reality, where they can play with stuff in real time.
So these videos, real quick, these videos. So are these are video clips taken from like a NASA website?
Directly from NASA. So these guys did this whole interview, and then all of a sudden, everything that was floating glitched out, and then they quickly cut to the control center. Oops. Right? Like, why are they glitching out? Right? Why are they glitching out? And let me show you. I'm just getting to the good ones now. This is so this one. This guy's going around a corner, and watch his arm. It becomes transparent. Look at this thing on the wall right here. You can see through his arm. So they're using multi-layers. They're multi-layering things. I'm comparing it to Wimpy eating his hamburger, and it keeps disappearing.
Right.
So hold on. I'm looking for a specific one. Where is it? They love playing with food and water and all sorts of stuff in space. And just a trick. Oh, here it is. So this one. They were playing with, they got the supply ship came up and they had some fresh fruit. They were very excited, and they were playing with a lemon, and it went, and they had to go grab it. Now watch this hand. Besides looking like a claw, I mean, not even like a real hand. Watch the hand go through the lemon. Okay, that's not a color scheme. That's augmented reality. They're playing with virtual objects in space. Virtual objects.
So why would they be doing that? Why
the lie? That's where a smart person goes, because why the lie is the best question of all. And I'm going to touch on it, but I'm going to tell you guys where to get more information on it. Just remember, my website is flatearthdave.com. All the information's there, and you need to take the time. In a 50-minute show, I'm gonna just point to some doors with some information for you. The question is, where do you live? Who are you? Right. So I always judge. I always kind of judge people. I'm judging you, by the way, on how fast they get to the why the lie. Because sometimes you gotta knock 15 proofs, 15 things down, and then they go, well, why would they lie? Why would they lie? Why would they lie means that your brain has already realized that there's a problem with the proofs that you have. So you've already gone beyond that, which is really good. And now you're saying, well, why would they lie? Because if you can't figure out the motive, it's harder to understand. It's harder to understand why. So the truth is, where do you live and who are you? Right? If you live in a heliocentric world, that's the the globe model, right, and a heliocentric world, once upon a time there was nothing. It exploded and became everything, and then everything started congealing into balls of matter and balls of gas in a space vacuum. This is like impossible if you know anything about physics and pressure and air and vacuums. And then lightning struck and created an amoeba, and that amoeba turned into a fish, and that fish grew legs and climbed out of the water and found another sexy fish and had a monkey, and the monkey had a human. That's what they want you to believe. That's what the heliocentric system tells you. And, you can believe in a creator, or you could not believe in a creator and believe in the Big Bang like they teach you in public school. Mm-hmm. But in the flat Earth model, you are at the center of creation. There is no question that there is a creator, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people say, oh, you flat earthers, you just want to feel special, right? Just want to feel special. No, well, we are special. That's not why we're doing this. We are at the center of creation. And to control the human race, you have to put them in a pen. And that pen is the globe, right? The globe is a prison for your mind. They've taken our map and they've wrapped it around a ball, and they say, there's nothing beyond the shoreline of our world. The shoreline of our world, which is here, this is all Antarctica, right? Antarctica, right? Think about this. Large bodies of water at rest need containment, right? You can't have a body of water without something containing it. Like a lake has to have sides to that lake, right?
Sure.
Makes sense? Uh-huh. So what would be the sides of if all the oceans in the world were a giant lake? What would be the sides of that lake? The sides of that lake would be land that's higher than the oceans, right? Sure. They tell us that Antarctica is a continent at the bottom of a ball, but if you look at the average height of Antarctica to all of the other countries in the world, this is Antarctica here. Antarctica is the shoreline of our world. Okay. So it's the container. Guess what? The only place well, there's two places, but one of the only places on Earth that we can't go, North Pole and the South Pole, you can't freely explore Antarctica. So basically, they've created a pen for us, and they're with an invisible wall. That wall is Antarctica. It's too cold. There's penguins there. There's just ice. It's too dangerous, right? So nobody even wants to go there, right? If I put you in a pen 5,000 miles in circumference, you wouldn't be happy. You'd want to go the other. I don't care how big the pen is, 25,000 miles around. Doesn't matter. As soon as you realize you're in a pen, you're going to want to go to the other side. But if you're on a ball and there's nothing else to discover, then your curiosity is going to be like, all right, well, here, we've looked at everything. And you live in a land of lack. You live in a land of danger. Like in the globe model, an asteroid's going to hit us. The sun's going to explode. We're running out of food. We're overpopulated. Global warming, nuclear bombs. All of that is to keep you living in fear and make you give up your God-given rights, your God-given natural rights, to let govern is to control, ment is the mind, control you. So the good news is we have free will and nobody can take it from us. Whether you believe it or not, that's just what it is. And the only way they can take it from you is if you give it away. So if when you're born, the first thing they do is commoditize you, give you a birth certificate, and then they teach you that you live on a ball. You're living now not in natural world. You're living in an artificially created world. And if you live and play on their ball field, you have to play by their ball rules. Right?
But why? But okay, if Antarctica surrounds a flat Earth, you're still in a pen.
Well, not necessarily. So here's the thing, and I always have to preface this before we say what's beyond Antarctica. We don't need to go beyond Antarctica to prove the Earth is flat. We can do that right here. There's plenty of proof, right? So this is the most common map that we have, the one that's used for navigation. So here's Australia, America, South America, right? And here it is. And then this is the shoreline of Antarctica. The question is, what's out here? Now, a lot of people say nothing. I'm not one of those people, right? Maybe the Earth is like this, and maybe there's more land out here, right? Okay. Maybe this is an interesting map. What if this ring is Antarctica, and there's more land out here, extra territory? Extra terra. Now, if somebody lived on the extra terra out here, what might they be called? An extraterrestrial from the outer space.
Okay.
right there, just a few thousand miles away instead of incomprehensible light years. Right?
So let me back that up then. Let me follow that. So are you suggesting that when we see these things in the sky, or they're saying these UFOs, that your theory would suggest that maybe they actually do live on Earth just past the Antarctic kind of wall?
Yeah, or maybe Antarctica is the end, but maybe Antarctica is bigger than all of the other countries combined. And there's other, we've had, whistleblowers, people that have worked in Antarctica in the military, that have said that there's cities in Antarctica with millions and millions of people that they're not allowed to communicate with the inner world.
Where is that? Where have you found that?
So these are people that worked in Antarctica. One of our people was doing some contract work at this army guy's house. And there's many stories of this, but this is one that I like. And he noticed the flat Earth sticker on the car, and they started talking about it. And he mentioned he worked in Antarctica. He's 94 years old. And she started asking, he or she, I forget, started asking him questions about Antarctica. And he got kind of nervous. He goes, well, I have a non-disclosure. I'm not allowed to talk about what I saw until I'm 100 years old, right? Great. Wow. That's going to work. That's going to work out well. And but he said, what I can tell you is there's millions of people in there, cities, and there's lots and lots and lots of stories. This is my app I'm showing that you can find on my website. It's called the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, but there's a book section in here. And if you go to the More Land section, there's some great books in here. But one of them that I like a lot is called The Iron Republic, right here. Mm-hmm. And you can find it on Amazon, you can find it in the app, or you can go on YouTube and type in The Iron Republic. The Morguile is the name of the channel. And this guy read the book, did a great job. Awesome narrator. And just listen to that while you're working out, walking, whatever, riding your bike. And it's a great story about a politician that got fed up with politics. He was actually in New York, and sold everything. This is in the late 1800s, and got a ship and went to Antarctica. And he ended up finding a passage and didn't know, he popped out into the ocean, was lost for a couple months, and then they found more land. So, maybe he went out here, went through here, lost at sea. The stars weren't making sense. Found a city over here, and they ended up living there for 10 years. And then he came back and told the story of this civilization. He says that the people out here used to live in here in the 1600s, but there was tyranny. And so they left. They said the world was crazy. And so they left and brought their civilization out here. Right? Now, listen, I have zero proof of this, zero. But getting back to the flat Earth, the Earth cannot be a sphere. It requires it to have curvature, right? You can't see my mouth because it's behind a physical curve. So on the ball that they tell us we live on, there has to be a certain amount of curvature, period. Now, you could see less distance than that due to atmospheric conditions, but there's no way to see more than that would allow. So one of the things that show that there's no curvature is that we can see too far, right? We can see things. Here's one. You guys, everyone says a boat's over the horizon. So out here, there's a boat, right? But as I'm zooming in, I'm increasing the angular size. And as I increase the angular size, all of a sudden you realize, oh, look, there is a boat out there. Okay? There it is. It's not behind the curve. Now, my finger won't hide that boat. But if my finger was a wave much closer to me, that it'll hide the boat from the bottom up, just like it's happening right now, right? And everything merges into the horizon. Now, without an explanation, somebody would say, "Oh, that boat's going away," and it went over the curve. No, it's not. It just went into the horizon, right? Here is so we don't know how far that boat is or anything. So here is a shot. This is a place.
So just to make sure I'm following you. So what you're saying is, in that situation, is it's not that they went over the curve. It's just they went so far out you couldn't see it because it's going into the horizon.
It went behind. There's a few reasons. The waves in the front, the atmospheric layer, what's called the marine layer, becomes opaque over distance more so than the higher layers. So when you're looking through the air, you're looking through glass, just more spread out. So if you look through a sheet of perfect glass and there was a light on the other side, you might not even see the glass and walk right into it, right? After you have your windows cleaned, it's like, wow, they're so clean, I don't even see it. But then you put 2 pieces, 3 pieces, 4 pieces, 5 pieces, and you stack it up. After like 100 pieces of glass, you can't even see a light on the other side. And that's what happens with the sun. and light in our atmosphere, and it becomes opaque. But not only is it opaque like this, it gets pushed into the horizon or the horizontal eye zone. Here's a spot in Alusia, France. We're looking at here. There's a mountain called Mount Canigou, 175 miles away. We can't see it because the light that's bouncing off of it is either not strong enough to come all the way 175 miles through all of that atmosphere, or the Earth is a ball and the top of that mountain is a half a mile below the curve like it would be required to be. If we live on a ball, 24,901 miles around, like they tell us, the top of that mountain from this viewing point, calculating in the viewer height and everything, should be over a half a mile below the curve. But twice a year, the sun migrates in between the tropics, and twice a year, the sun lines up with the viewer and the mountain. And when it backlights it, the sun's brightness is strong enough to push through. It backlights it, and we can see the entire mountain, top to bottom. Now, a little bit of the bottom's gone because of those reasons I told you before, but it doesn't matter how much of the bottom's gone because the top should be a half a mile below the curve. You want to hear the globe excuse for this?
Yeah, sure. What's the globe excuse for it?
The sun is already set, but it's refracting up and magically appearing due to atmospheric refraction in front of you. And the mountain is refracting up, even though it has no light on it, and blocking the sun. And the reason that doesn't make any sense is because it doesn't make any sense.
well, okay. So back to the original, just kind of what flat Earth theory is.
Yeah.
So, because I've heard, again, I just hear things here and there, and I've just been like, I'm just going to go to a source. So, is there a kind of a widespread acceptance within the flat Earth community as to what it all means? Like you suggest, like, that Antarctica is actually an ice, kind of like an ice cap around us. There may be something outside, there may not, but we need to get past Antarctica. But you mentioned like God and creation. So is it widely accepted that this is kind of a Judeo-Christian religious creation type story, or no?
No, there's a lot of Christians in flat Earth because the Bible, literally from page 1, talks about flat Earth. God separated the waters from waters and created the firmament, and the land, it does not move. And there's like 200 verses in the Bible that go to flat Earth. None of them go to a globe. Everyone says, Isaiah, whatever, it says the circle of the earth. Well, a circle is a line on a flat surface, on a plane. The definition of a circle, a line on a plane where every point on that line is equidistant from a center point. That's a circle. That's not a sphere. This is not flat Earth. This is what, if you Google flat Earth, this is what what you'll find, right? So that's not what flat Earth is. And so is this a religious thing? Absolutely not. But all of the old religions, all of them, everything before the early 1900s was flat. Everything, all the religions, everything. It's only when NASA came around, right? I interviewed a 102-year-old woman in 2020, and she said that she was taught flat Earth in elementary school here in Connecticut.
Interesting.
Yeah,
and they changed it out in the 30s.
Later than that, actually, because in 1959 they took that map I showed you, the Gleason's map, was in all encyclopedias, it was in school books, it was everywhere. They just took it out. They just disappeared it. It's probably the first time you ever saw it, right? And that and a lot of people, that's a projection of the globe. No, the globe is a projection of that. If I go back into the app here, and let me just type in map. They took the globe and they wrapped it around a sphere, and then they said, you can't go explore this white area, right? Now you can go to a little trip here. It costs you like $30,000 to go right there, right? For a couple of days, and then they kick you out. No one is allowed to explore south. If you think about it, they say, well, what about circumnavigating the Earth? That's a good one.
What is the excuse for not allowing people to
go to Antarctica?
Go to Antarctica. Do they tell you why? Has there been a reason for that?
Yeah, because we have to protect. It's the last place on Earth. Ready for this? Try not to laugh. It's the last place on Earth that's pristine, and we don't want to pollute the ice or disturb the penguins' migratory path. That's it. But we can blow up children and families in Palestine, no problem. World's fine with that. But we can't fly a plane over Antarctica. Here's the thing. Check this out. If you people say, well, I circumnavigate the Earth, right? So here's circumnavigation. This is the flat Earth map. I got a magnet here. So that's my magnetic north at the center, right? So here's my compass. And as I'm trying to push it west, I have to keep turning to the right to maintain that heading of 270. 270 is west, right? So that I started here and I ended up there. Does that make this map a sphere? Look, now I'm going 90 degrees east. I got to keep turning because that compass always has to point towards the north. Make sense? Now, if you and I were standing, I'm standing here, you're standing on the other side, our backs are to the North Pole, and we start walking away. Oh, no, here, I'm going to show you this first. I'm going to go dead reckon west. I'm not going to correct to the north. Now I'm heading south. Every direction away from the center is south. All of these radial lines, these longitude lines, are south, right? South with north would be behind you, okay? Now, that's no different on a globe, but here's the thing. If you try to circumnavigate on a flat Earth by going south, you'll never pop up over here. Nobody has ever gone from Santiago over Antarctica and shown up in Australia. Now, on a globe, you're down here. You should go right over. You should go right over. Look, I'm heading north. I'm heading north. I'm heading north. Up, and now I'm heading south. As I pass the North Pole, the compass does a 180. So every straight line is south. That's south. That's south. That's south. South is that way or that way or that way. It doesn't matter. Eventually, you'll hit Antarctica. Like, think about being on a giant lake. The shoreline of the lake is the south shore. And wherever you go away from the center of the lake, you'll hit the shore. What's beyond there? We don't know.
Do they not allow air travel over Antarctica?
Yeah, no one's ever done it. Now they've claimed they've done it. So a bunch of years ago, they said there was this trip called what was it called? It was called they were gonna fly over Antarctica. Here it is. They were gonna do south to north circumnavigation. So you got the North Pole. They went down here, America, South America, and then they went to the alleged South Pole, and then they came back up Madagascar, up through Europe and around. Wow, they just circumnavigated the globe, right? They went from pole to pole, and they got back. But let's look at that on a flat Earth map, right? North Pole, America, South America. They went over here. They came up, around Madagascar. That's all they did. That's all they did. They just ran around here, and they said the Earth is a globe. And then there was another one where they were supposed to go around, and when they got to the South Pole, they turned around and came back. And the Guinness Book gave them the world record for first southern circumnavigation. We're like, wait a minute. They didn't. They turned around, but they gave it to them anyway, right?
Yeah, let me ask you this, because either
you should be able to go like this to here to there, right? There to there.
Yeah. So now, especially in the last 5 to 10 years, more and more just crazy rich people are starting to try to do what NASA does, right? Like Elon Musk is the number one guy you're talking about with doing all the colonization of Mars stuff.
Yeah.
And I think Elon Musk is one of the biggest truthers out there. Maybe you disagree. So, he's been very big in trying to unveil government conspiracies. He's endorsed Donald Trump. He's very much kind of one of these guys. Why, if he's kind of doing these things on his own, why would you think he wouldn't kind of unearth this, for lack of a better term?
Well, if you look at, again, we're going to have to do another show on Elon Musk, but if you look at his stuff, it's all fake. There's nobody ever on his rockets. I know that's a lot. I know that breaks everyone's heart, but if you actually look at it and analyze it, like did you see the rocket catching with the chopsticks? Have you actually looked at that? There's so many. It's crazy. It's the dumbest thing you've ever seen, right? This tube is falling out of the sky. It weighs multiple tons. It's 15 stories high. It's giant. You can fit, a dozen Mack trucks in it, and it's just falling. And then this little flame comes on the bottom, and it lands right where it took off, and it's caught. And they catch it with the chopsticks. It's the dumbest thing ever. And then here's the problem.
Do you mean that didn't really happen? It was fake?
Yeah, it's totally faked. It was totally. Okay. What about the independent people that saw it and everything? There's all sorts of different stuff they do. On my app, there's a section called Rockets and Balloons, and then you'll find that NASA and Elon own all the helium in the world, and their stuff has got a lot of helium in it. That's all I'm saying. But here's the thing: don't believe anything I say because that's crazy. You need to go look and think and verify for yourself. I want to show you a flight route. Okay. On the ball, right? So you got the north on the top, the south on the bottom, right? The equator in the middle, right? You with me? Okay. And so pick any two locations in the north, a northern airport and another northern airport. That means everything's above the equator. Is there any reason, use your logic, that plane would have to go below the equator to get to its destination?
Not necessarily.
No, because the shortest route would definitely be not going below the equator. Even if I pick something like close to the equator over here and close to the equator over here, it could go around this way or it can go this way, but going below the equator is just going out of the way. And guess what? There's no northern flights starting at a northern airport, going to another northern airport that ever cross the equator. But in the south, for some reason, there is. All the long distance flights from New Zealand to Argentina. So we got New Zealand right over here. Australia's around the corner. And here's the tip of South America. So you got Argentina. And the Great Circle route says the shortest route would be right here. Okay? That would be the shortest route. But do you want to see how they really go? This is the flight route. New Zealand across the equator to San Francisco, across the United States to Houston, Texas, all the way back down across the equator to Argentina. Doesn't that seem weird?
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But what is their argument for why they don't go from New Zealand to Argentina? What did they say?
They don't have an argument.
Okay.
Here's what it looks like on a flat Earth: New Zealand, San Francisco, Houston, Texas, Argentina. It's a straight line. All right, and there's many, many, many of these that'll blow your mind. Right.
So wait a minute, but in a globe, if you wrap that around a globe, it's still a straight shot. Technically, you're just saying it's a well, you're instead of going the southern route, you're going the northern route all the way over.
Yeah, on a globe, you're going big over horseshoe, a big horseshoe, and each one of those, it's 3 times the length, right? Because on a globe, those are wrapped together. They're wrapped together.
I'm just curious, is there something about airspace or something about like they're not allowed to go this way? Is there, because you mentioned like no flights around Antarctica. Could that be the reason why they're not going that way? They've given no explanation, like no
explanation. Right. And it doesn't even require going over Antarctica. And there are islands out here that they could land on if there was an emergency. So you can't say, oh, there's no island here, so they're going to fly this incredible distance over open ocean. All right. To avoid open ocean over here. Are you kidding me? Right? It makes no sense. I'm going to show you a thing, and this will get rid of that idea. Sometimes, someone has a heart attack or is dying on an airplane, and they have what am I looking for? They have to do an emergency landing. Okay. So let me just pull this one up. So here's one. They were going from New York to Hawaii. They had an emergency right here, and they went like almost 1,000 miles out of the way to Seattle. But Seattle is right on a flat Earth map. It's right on that plane route. That one's not that extreme. Let's look at another one. Pakistan to London. It stopped in Moscow. Moscow, again, just happens to be right underneath it. Another one, Doha, Chicago to Doha, and they went like 1,500 miles out of the way, and they got there in 15 minutes. How does that happen?
Yeah, but right? How come there's not like, why aren't pilots just going like, hey, this doesn't make a lot of sense?
Have you talked to pilots? There are so many pilots that are on this bandwagon. Many of them are just glorified bus drivers. Pilots go up, they take off, they decide they land, right? And then the plane they just do what control tells them to do. And they don't look at this stuff. But when they do, they wake up. All of the Qantas pilots, because these are the ones that are doing the crazy routes, they've all figured it out. But they've all told us that they can't talk about it publicly or they lose their jobs, right? This one, again, Calgary gets there in record amount of time. Calgary, right on the route, right? These only make sense on a flat Earth. They always make sense on a flat Earth. They make no sense, right? Why did they land in Alaska? They could have just gone to Los Angeles, but they went all the way out of the way to Alaska. Well, here it is, right here. It
So
makes perfect sense.
So going back to the why, I understand, a lot of the times when I hear like conspiracy theorists per se talk about different conspiracies and ask why, and they always say control. But tell me again, like what do you think the control aspect is that they have by not accepting flat Earth versus a globe?
Yeah, so if you believe that you're spinning out of control, lost in space, right, going in 4 different directions at once at speeds that are just incomprehensible, that you're a random speck in the universe, you're lowering your value, right? If you believe that we're running out of fuel, we're running out of food, we're overpopulated, that global warming is going to kill us all, humans are the problem, you are giving up your power. You're going to ask the government to make decisions for you. You're going to listen to your rulers. The government not only wants to get on top of you, they want to get on top of God. And nobody gets on top of me. God, me, maybe the government will be below my feet if I allow them, if they're of any service. But in reality, the government is not helping us in any way. So when you say what difference does it make? Well, here are my top 3. What has it done for me? What has flat Earth done for your well-being? That's a good question, right? More peace, because I'm no longer afraid of all of the nonsense that they put out there. I know that all the stuff that they're doing is fake. A greater sense of freedom. I know that there's more resources. I know that this place is incredible. I know that there was an advanced civilization here not that long ago, just a couple hundred years ago. Right?
Yeah, so that's a different thing, and I'm willing to accept that. You said a couple hundred years ago?
Yeah, so I want you to write this down. There's a channel, and if you get my app, there's great stuff on there. I have a whole old world section. So right here is the Griffin button, right? And if you click the Griffin button, up comes the old world section. There's a video called Old World Order. That's a good intro. But my favorite channel is these 2 red ones here called My Lunch Break. You can find them on YouTube yourself. Go watch a couple episodes of that. Forget about it, right? There, when you look at the old world, we're taught about the Wild West in the 1800s. All of the cities were already here before that. And there was some sort of cataclysmic flood worldwide that buried a lot of the world. And there was advanced civilization here. The transcontinental railroad wasn't built in our lifetime. It was excavated, right? So when you start looking, and these are not theories. The theories are how it happened, why it happened, who did it, who's behind all of it, all of that. Those are theories. But the fact that it's here, when you start watching My Lunch Break, when you watch Old World Order, when you start looking into this, you will never be able to go out in your own town and look around and go, how did I miss that? It's right here in my own town. You have old world buildings in every town. And then once you start seeing it, then it all comes back together. And so the old world will bring you to flat Earth. Everything will bring you to flat Earth, because flat Earth is the foundation of the lies. If they can teach you that you're spinning out of control, that you came from a random speck, that, evolution and dinosaurs, right? Dinosaurs aren't real. Do you know that? If they can convince you of all that, they can convince you that if you breathe on grandma, she's going to die. Okay. They can convince you of anything. They can convince you that you are the reason the Earth is falling apart, right? You're the reason. And the truth is, they're destroying the world in front of us. And it's because we're all lost in space and have no idea who we are, and are giving our power away. The truth is, this is a spiritual world that we live in. This is a world where we're in a spiritual war. And the way that they win is when people won't even accept that as a possible reality. So go ahead.
So you think that part of this, then, because I mean, for this to be true, then, for the things that you've just said, this would have had to have been a concerted effort over centuries, with a lot of people involved, to make this, or at least the last century, right?
Have you looked into the orphan trains?
The orphan trains? No.
Yeah. So in the late 1800s, all of a sudden, millions and millions of children showed up on trains in all the cities in all of the world.
When was this?
In the I forget the exact date. I think it was the late 1800s. It might even been early, as early as 1900. But right around then, if you just look up orphan trains and all of the Griffin section, the old world section, there's tons of stuff in there. when you learn about the orphan trains, you're gonna have more questions. But these kids just showed up everywhere, no parents, no recollection of parents or anything, and they repopulated the world. How do you repopulate the world without people asking questions? You fill it with kids, and these kids have no idea where they're coming from. So this place was repopulated. Who, how, when, where, why? I have no friggin' idea. But there's evidence that this has happened. There's buildings that we couldn't build today, but they built it before power tools when they had horses and buggies, right? There's all sorts of incredible evidence of that. That's not even a theory. The theory, as I said, I keep saying the theory is, who, what, where, when, and why. But we can prove it that it was here. So when you find out your true position and you find out your true power, and when you take your power back, people say, "Oh, what difference does it make? I still have to go to work on Monday, and I need money to live, and I'm broke." Right? That's where they want you. They want you sick and tired and feeling powerless. When the truth is, one person with the truth is more powerful than millions and millions of liars. And they say, "Well, how can so many people be in on it?" Not that many people are in on it. Most people, are lost. They have no idea. Pilots aren't even in on it, and they're the ones flying over. Airplane fly over the Earth plane. Before we run out of time, and I know the why is a great question. On the app, if you hit the question mark and up come all these sections, why the lie? My favorite section. There's so many videos in there. It's worth the $3 for the app just for that section. Where does the sun go? Again, favorite. What about tides? Coriolis effects, satellites, all of that stuff is answered in, but here's the thing. Belief is the enemy of knowing. There's a podcast called Crow 777 Radio with 2 R's, which is one of the greatest podcasts ever. And his saying is, belief is the enemy of knowing. It's true. You believe that I live in Connecticut because I said it during the show. Don't know if you remember, but you believe it. You don't know it. Okay? Mm-hmm. You don't know it. Now, if you had to verify everything in your life, you'd never have time to do anything. So we need to believe. It's easy to believe, right? What if your job today was finding out where I live? You could say he lives in Connecticut. Now you can go drink a beer and take a nap, okay? Or you could spend the rest of your day trying to figure it out, spending energy and time. But nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to take the time to really look at our world. They just want to believe what they were told. I can write the book of BS. I can give it to people. If they study it and they test them on it and they get 100 on it, they're now certified. I'll give them a diploma in BS and they can now go teach everyone else BS. So all of the teachers in the world, they're not liars. They're memorizers and regurgitators. That's what the education system taken over by the Rockefellers in the early 1900s has done. They've underfunded schools. They give them the textbooks, essentially, so no competitor can come in there and they're like, "Hey, you and I write a textbook on truth. We give it to the school. Hey, it's $20 a textbook." They're like, "Well, we can get these from the Rockefellers for $2. We're not going to take your $20 textbook." And that's how they control that. That's how they control the information. They don't want a world of thinkers. They want a world of workers in their corporate slave system. That's where we live.
Yeah. So, well, I don't necessarily disagree with you on a lot of that, but going back to this flat earth theory, I still am trying to figure out why this seems to me like that this would have to be, unless I don't know about the orphan train thing. This is the first time I've ever even heard of that. And it's shocking to me that if that were true, that I wouldn't have heard of it anywhere. You know what I mean?
Well, so here's the thing. Go watch My Lunch Break. That's the easiest thing you can do. I recommend people get my app. It's $3, right? But you don't have to get my app. Just go watch that stuff. On my website, flatearthdave.com, if you want to learn more about Flat Earth, and scroll down until you see a big picture of me, and it says Crash Course. And there's videos there that have been on YouTube on dozens of channels that you'll never see. YouTube will never feed them to you. You can probably even search for them by name, and they won't show up because they're censoring the information. That's why you haven't seen it. That's why you haven't learned about the orphan trains. You probably have never even heard the word Tartaria, right?
No, I never heard of it.
Tartaria was a worldwide civilization. If you go look at Rockefeller's new book, his latest book, he's got a map on it, and it says Tartaria right on it. They stick it in our faces. It's called Revelation of the Method. They always tell us the truth. But if we're too stupid to see it, we've given up our rights. We're supposed to use our God-given common sense and make the best of this world and expand the mind of the creator. But people would rather just give it up to be entertained on Netflix. Turn off Netflix, go on my website, watch the crash course videos, watch 3 of them, and then send me 1 globe proof and you win 3 Bitcoins.
Huh. So when you're saying globe proof, what would you need to see to change your view on flat Earth?
Yeah, prove curvature, prove axial rotation. Show me how you can have gas in a vacuum uncontained.
Mm-hmm. So, but I mean, when you say, and I already know I've seen some podcasts about people who don't believe in the moon landing, but when you've had like multiple people going up and saying, yeah, it's round, I've seen it, you don't believe that.
Well, that's just hearsay. Don't believe anything I say either.
No, I understand, but I mean, like, I'm asking, so would you have to actually be shot up into a rocket into space and see it circular? If you did that, you'd come back and say, okay, it's not flat. Or is there something else that could be done where you would say, I'm no longer flat Earth Dave?
Yeah, you could fly. You can. So here's I'll give you a good answer to that. What I'm looking for, it's so if you here's one, and I'm going to explain it. It's going to take a minute, but it's not that complicated. But follow along here. I'm just stalling as I'm looking for it. So if where is it? All right. Where's my thing? Give me a second. All right. So here we go. So here's Antarctica.
Uh-huh.
Here's the tip of South America. Uh-huh. And here's Australia, if you can see it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is what we do. We get a team of people, 2 airplanes, go to South America. We're all there. You're there. I'm there. Neil deGrasse Tyson's there. College professors there. 2 big planes. And we fly to Antarctica. And they tell us Antarctica is about 10 to 13,000 miles in circumference. So a plane flies at 500 miles an hour. It would take about 10 hours to get over here. Okay? Mm-hmm. So they both fly over there. And if they get there within 10 hours, that means that Antarctica is a small continent. But if the Earth is flat, the 2 planes would have to go all the way around this way, which should be at 500 miles an hour, would take 68 hours instead of 10 hours. So there's a wide margin of difference there. Mm-hmm. Now, does that prove that the Earth, if they do it in the 10 hours, that doesn't prove that the Earth is flat. You know why? Because because it could be like this. Here could be the Earth, and they could say, oh, we have an Antarctic base here, and we have another Antarctic base here, right? So they can go here. They can fly around 10 hours, and then you can't say the Earth is a globe because it could be just like this. What they would have to do next is they would have to go from that side of Antarctica to Australia in 6 hours. I'll round it, I'll give them 10 hours, and they can't do it because they'll be like 80 hours away from Australia. So that would prove it, but it'll never happen. Unfortunately, it'll never happen.
And why do you think it'll never happen? Just because they're like, we don't need to do that. We don't need to prove flat Earth, Dave, that the Earth is round.
Yeah, that's one reason. They say that because it's scientifically proven already. Show me the science. Let me ask you a question. If something doesn't curve, then it's what?
Flat.
All right. If something doesn't move, then it's what?
It's stationary.
Okay. Every test for axial rotation, every test for curvature has proven the opposite so far. So why would the default be a spinning ball? Every observation that you have, oh, well, an amoeba on a basketball would think it's flat. Okay, cool example, bro. But everything tells us it's flat. We're whipping through space. We're orbiting. People don't even realize the actual motions that they tell us the Earth is doing, right? They tell us we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. Okay? We're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. We're orbiting the sun at 66,600 miles an hour. Funny number. Okay? Not average, 66,600 miles an hour. And we're chasing the sun at 500,000 miles an hour. Okay? And then the whole thing is moving sideways at over 2 million miles per hour, right? Here's a NASA hypersonic sled track. Watch this thing. It's going to go by at Mach 8.6. 8.6 times the speed of sound. Didn't even see it, right? You can't fathom that speed. Could you fathom twice that speed? No. Did you? Right? So you have to believe that the Earth is going around the sun 10 times faster than that. And it's chasing the sun, this lumpy rock, surrounded with smooth water, surrounded by air, high pressure, adjacent to a void. It's spinning and whipping through space 10 times and 100 times faster than that in curved trajectories, speeding up and slowing down at speeds that you can't even comprehend, right? That's what they tell you. And you go out into nature and you see this. Whoops. You go out in nature and you see this. Mm-hmm. Right? This is what reality shows you. But NASA, the ones that have done a million, rocket launch fakeness and faking space and all this stuff, they tell you that we're whipping through space, right? Water, the science of water needs containment, and at rest it lies flat. There is no curvature. There's no curvature. On my website, flatearthdave.com, all my socials are there. I have a couple YouTube channels. My YouTube channel, DITRH, which stands for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, has all videos under 5 minutes. Start there, right? Follow me on X at, what is my X? It's Flat Earth Dave X, Flat Earth Dave X on X. And just take a peek. Don't believe. Take a look. And here's the thing. Let me tell you, this guy, you're going to put this on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay. The trolls are going to show up, and this is what they're going to say. Dave's a scammer. He's just trying to sell his $3 app. Dave does this. Dave has been shown that the Earth is a globe 1,000 times and won't pay the Bitcoins, but they'll never share you the proof. And if you look at any of the channels, they're empty. There's nothing on the channels. Okay, so the trolls will follow me everywhere because when you're over the target, you get the most amount of flack. So what has Flat Earth done for me? I had my own business. I worked my way through corporate America. I left corporate America. I started my own business. It was doing super well. I had 2 partners, and my truth journey kind of got in the way, and I walked away from it all. I walked away from a large amount of money to hopefully being able to pay my monthly bills each month. And why did I do that? Because my whole life was about making money, gaining riches, and stuff. And I walked away from it all because I realized that's not the purpose of life, right? You don't want $1 million. Did you know that?
I do, actually.
No, you don't. you want happiness, freedom, love. You want all of those things that you think the money will bring you. Now, don't get me wrong. Money helps. It's comfortable. It's nice to have things. It's nice to be able to do things. But that's not the reason. The reason you want the money is for the real reason is beyond the money. Okay.
Yeah. No, that's true. And as someone, I have been successful. I've done very well financially, and I can tell you, it doesn't bring you. It's just one less thing to worry about.
It's one less thing. And in this world, right, playing on their stupid ball field with their fiat currency, it's ridiculous. Right. For those of you interested, if anyone's interested, if you're looking for something to do this winter and you want to get away, I'll be speaking at the Antarctica conference in Acapulco. So if you're looking for a place to go, you want to go to Mexico, I'll be speaking at Antarctica in February, and it's a great truther conference. Not just about Flat Earth. I'm just doing Flat Earth on Thursday, the 5-day or 6-day conference. It's mind-blowing, and you can find it at flatearthdave.com. It's also on the app. Anything else?
I know you got a hard out in 1 minute, so I really appreciate your time. I would love, I would love to have you on again at some point because this has been a really fascinating conversation. You're the first flat earther I've ever met, and it's been very entertaining and very interesting to see where you're coming from. And so,
hey, I appreciate your thinking. I have a homework requirement for you. Oh, there goes my alarm. I told you. The homework requirement is go. If you get the app, great. You can find all the stuff there. Every day there's a daily video right here. Amazing. But if you just go to my website, go to the crash course, watch the first 3 videos.
Okay.
And then also remember the devil trolls are going to show. The more you look into this, the more they're going to try to distract you. They're going to be like, it's crazy. So think for yourself. Don't believe me. Don't believe them. Think for yourself.
Awesome. Appreciate your time, Dave. All
right, man. Send me a link when this is up, and I'll share it on the app. There's a whole interview section on the app. You go right there, and your interview will be right on that list.
Awesome. Appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you again soon. All right.
All right, man. Thanks. See ya.